If you've ever tried to do a cut only to fall off or crash out shortly after, especially within the first 2 weeks, this is why. You see, you skipped the one and only important phase to make getting shredded actually possible. Now, the 6-week six-pack method isn't just about burning fat or getting lean. It's about building the machine that burns the fat for you so that you don't burn muscle, so that you don't lose steam, so that you don't get low on energy, and you don't crash out. And you see, if you don't implement the 6-week six-pack method into your cutting phase, it is literally impossible to get that dream physique. And what I'm going to show you today is exactly how to use the 6-week six-pack method in order to get shredded and get that six-pack that you have always wanted. And so that we are on top of everything, I have got a full printout layout right here that I'm going to go over with you guys so you know exactly how to do it. And I'm going to leave a PDF that you can go and hit my DMs and I will send it over to you so you have an exact blueprint of how to do the 6-week six-pack method. So here's the thing. When it comes to the 6-week six-pack method, the whole point of this is to prime your body 6 weeks before the cut so that the cut is actually successful. Because if you just throw yourself into a cut and don't do this priming phase, it's not going to work. It's like if you try to start your car without priming the fuel pump first. It's just going to misfire and stall out. And then you're just causing more damage than good. And you're never going to actually start the car, and you're never going to see it run like you truly want it to. And that's not what we want. We don't want to be wasting time. We don't want to be running around with all these bullshit that these other people throw around. Oh, you need to do this and that and this and keto and paleo and whatever bullshit else they're telling you to do. If you do this simple prep phase before your cut, it will make your cut go so much smoother. It's going to make your cut not make you extremely exhausted, tired, falling asleep, feeling like death, craving food every 10 seconds. You're priming your body and you're priming your brain so that it is ready to get shredded. So we're going to get right into this. We don't need to waste any more time. So the first week, the thing that you need to do is we are recalibrating your body and your mind. So the goal is a system reset, basically. So we're going to be eliminating all inflammatory foods. We're going to start to taper caffeine and stimulant overload. And this is going to play a huge role into the cut, because when we're on the cut, stimulants are going to be something that's extremely important and a useful tool that we can get a lot of leverage with. So we need to taper and come off of them so that our body can actually use them and is ready for it. And actually, it's just not going in our system and then doing a whole lot of nothing. And speaking of, I've got an energy drink right over here that I'm gonna open up for this video. Brand new Celsius flavor. These are pretty good. So let's get back to it. We're gonna start to keep an eye on our digestion. If we feel bloated, if we feel like we're not digesting food like we have before, because we need to know these things. We're gonna start tracking our sleep, making sure that we are optimizing our sleep so we're not getting super tired in the cut. And we're gonna keep a close eye on how we feel, what our mood is like. We're gonna set a macros that are close to maintenance so that your body is getting used to having a lower calorie. Because if you're coming from a bulk and you just go straight into a huge cut, you're just gonna crash out and you're gonna feel like shit. So that's not what we want. We're gonna go close to maintenance. That way it actually works and our body can adjust to the deficit that we were doing. We're going to start to implement more like cardio. That way our body can adapt to the cardio, because when we're in the very tail end of our cut, there's going to be a lot of cardio going on. And if you throw yourself right into that, you're going to burn out and lose steam. We're going to start to actually deload our training. That way our central nervous system can start to recover, because we're going to have to increase the training intensity a little bit during certain times during the cut. So if we start a deload right now, that's going to prime our body and our brain so that it actually doesn't burn out. After that, we're going to begin to monitor our morning and evening routines. Okay, so if you watch my 369 video, you know exactly how the morning and the evening routine goes, but a slight breakdown with the 369 method. The number 3, pillar 3, it's a 3-step morning routine. You make your bed, you shower, and you journal. Super simple, that's all you need to do. Before you do all that, you need to make sure you hydrate. I always do some ice water with some lemon and some pink salt. So we also want to make sure that we're going to sleep at a consistent time and waking up at a consistent time. That way our circadian rhythm is getting in a pattern, because that's going to make a huge adjustment on how we feel during the day. Now we move on to week 2. We're going to start to stabilize things. Okay, so now we're going to really anchor down those new routines. We're going to really balance our hormones. So we want to nail the consistency with our macros, meals, and our water. Make sure we're getting our gallon a day. Okay, you don't need to be exactly tracking your water to like a T, but you need to make sure you're getting that gallon of water a day. All right, we're going to add basic supplements, electrolytes, adaptogens, and gut support. We want to make sure we're actually digesting our food properly. That way we're staying hydrated, and that way we don't burn out. And if you're going to notice a common pattern with this, is the goal of this is to completely eliminate the possibility of burning out before the cut. That way we can fully go through that, we can actually get that 6-pack that we want. Okay, so now we're going to start to refine the sleep protocol. All right, we need no blue light. You guys need to be getting yourself some blue light blockers. That way you're not allowing all this blue light to come in before you go to bed, because that's going to mess with your sleep cycles. All right, we're going to make sure we're going to sleep at the same bedtime, and we're going to make sure we're taking our magnesium and glycine before we go to bed. Now we're going to start to ramp up our training a little bit. We're going to get a little more intense. We're going to work a little bit more on strength for right now, and we'll make sure our sessions are really structured. All right, and we're going to continue our low intensity cardio, but make sure that we're on top of it. Oh, I'm choking. We're going to make sure that we're on top of it and that it's consistent. Okay, now that we have week 3, which is the drive engagement, we're going to make sure we lock in our lifestyle momentum. All right, we're going to do our first calorie and carb cycle intro. We're going to introduce refeed days, and we're not going to be allowing a whole lot of cheat days. Okay, now cheat days are going to be extremely important when we are in the cut, because that's what's going to allow us to continue to move forward and not burn out, and not just let all this tension and this food energy build up and just hit us all at once, and then you just eat a bunch of calories and you completely waste all this work that you have done. Okay, so cheat days are going to be implemented into the cut, but we're going to also make sure that our energy output is increasing. All right, so we're going to be doing more steps. We're going to start to train a little smarter. We want to be using more energy during our training session. That way we can start to rebalance the chemicals in our brain. Now we're going to start to track recovery. All right, we need to be tracking our HRV, our libido, our sleep quality. All this stuff is extremely important, because this gives us an in-depth detail on what our hormones look like, on what our neurochemistry looks like. We need to make sure we're nailing in our mindset shifts. We need to make sure that our morning intentions are getting set for the day. That way we're not just going into the day with a whole lot of nothing and wasting a whole lot of time. All right, we need to make sure we're getting our weekly self-audits to make sure that you did everything you need to do in the week. You need to make sure that you followed pillar 9, which, if you know pillar 9 from the 369 video, there's 9 things that you need to be doing within 1 week to ensure that you are continuing moving forward. And one of the most important things is that once a week you need to be stepping outside of your comfort zone. This is going to constantly be moving you forward. And during that weekly audit, during your weekly journaling, you're going to make sure that you reflect back on what you did for the week. You're going to make sure that you express gratitude in your journaling. You're going to make sure that you did your weekly stepping out of your comfort zone, so you can grow as a person and not continue to fall back into this low confidence, insecure person. Because you have a forged mind, you are forged. What does it mean to be forged? When you forge steel, you beat it and beat it and beat it and become stronger, okay? When you step outside your comfort zone, you're beating down that insecurity person. You're beating down your comfort clone. Your comfort clone is that version of yourself that goes for the comfort, that goes for the comfort food, that scrolls all day, okay, that scrolls during sets in the gym. You don't need to be using your phone during the gym. You can use your phone for music. You can use it to listen to a podcast. You can use it to track your your weights, to track your sets, your reps, and everything, that's fine, but you just don't need to be doom scrolling in the gym. That is wasting time. And if you're somebody like me who has a very limited time schedule, I work an hour and a half from where I live. I have 8 hours to sleep exactly. I have to make sure I get to bed right on time, or else I don't get enough sleep. Because if I don't get enough sleep, my body will not wake up. And if I don't wake up, then I'm gonna miss my morning gym. I'm gonna miss my morning cardio. Then I'm gonna have to just go straight to work. And if I go straight to work without doing pillar 3, my morning routine, that's gonna completely wreck everything. So now moving on to week 4, we're gonna start to push the capacity, all right? The goal is to test the engine without redlining, all right? That you don't wanna completely blow up yourself, but you wanna start to test it and push a little more to see what happens, to see if you start breaking up, to see if you start falling off. And if you don't, you're gonna start to do this slight deficit, all right? We're gonna drop our calories down, but this is gonna be very strategic. We're gonna add an interval style cardio 1 to 2 times a week. We're gonna introduce fasted sessions. Now, what are fasted sessions? That means we're gonna do a little bit of intermittent fasting in the morning, but we're also gonna make sure that we stop eating 2 to 4 hours before we go to bed. You cannot be eating before you go to bed, and especially not consuming things with sugar. That's gonna completely spike your glucose. When you're digesting, you're not sleeping properly. When you're digesting, you're not training properly, okay? You don't need to be eating. You should be going to bed hungry. That is the proper way to do it. Okay, now the training split gets optimized. We're gonna start to optimize our volume, our recovery, our intensity. And how are we gonna do this? Well, since you're tracking your stuff, we're gonna know exactly what we need to adjust, okay? If it's really hard for you to continue and to do your full workout, we need to find out why. That way we can optimize it. That way it works the best for you. All right, now we're gonna start to do a deload, or we're gonna do an aggressive progression if we need to, based off the tracking and what we found out that we need to optimize. Now that we move over to week 5, the goal is to eliminate as much guesswork as possible, and we want to amplify our performance. All right, so we make sure we're exactly logging our food. We make sure we're logging our sodium. If we are supplementing with it, we need to make sure that our water is still at 1 gallon a day. We need to make sure that our digestion is working properly. Okay, we need to make sure that we're doing our final adjustment to meal timing and supplements. What does that mean? We're going to go and look over, how is this food treating you? How are the macros treating you? And if they're treating you well, then we're going to continue. And if they're not, if they're messing with your digestion, your energy, we're going to make adjustments. That way we can continue to move forward and we don't crash out on the cut, okay? We're going to add in metabolic support if needed, okay? Things like L-carnitine, yohimbine, berberine. If you're an enhanced person, we'll add in more things on that end. That way we can get as much performance as possible. All right, PEDs are not cheating. It is a fulcrum for the leverage you can pull down on. That way you can make more progress. But if you don't work, the PEDs don't work. And you don't need PEDs to have a great transformation, but they do help. So that's something you want to do. That is completely on the table, but we need to go over if that is something that is right for you. And if it is, we can move forward. If it's not, we don't have to. Regardless, you are going to make an insane transformation once you implement 6-week 6-pack. We're going to make sure that we zone in on our weak points, okay? Really find out, is our sleep messed up? Is our digestion messed up? Is our training output? Is our mood starting to decline? Are we starting to have symptoms of depression, anxiety? What is starting to happen? We're going to make more adjustments. Then we're going to move on to the final mindset, prep for the hard cut, okay? We need to really visualize the physique we are going to get, because you know you are going to get it because you are implementing this method, okay? You need to visualize how you're going to be eating. You need to visualize how you're going to feel on your cheat days and how you're going to feel after them, because on your cheat days are meant to be there so that you can continue the cut. So you don't want to be guilt tripping yourself, okay? Maybe you messed up. You need to learn from your mistakes, not guilt trip yourself and then fall off. All right, now week 6 is the final lock-in. We're going to do a small deficit past what we are already on the deficit. We're going to stabilize digestion even more. We're not going to make too many drastic changes, we're going to let the body kind of normalize and adjust for the new state, okay? So you can think of this week as kind of a bit of a coast. We're letting off the gas a little bit, seeing how things are, and we're letting our body adapt to how it feels, okay? This is where we'll start to maybe add in a little bit more stimulants. That way we can see how you feel with them, and we can make sure the adjustments are on point. Okay, we're going to start to create the full-on cut protocol for week 7. And week 7 is where the real cut starts. That's where the real hard deficit starts. That way we know we are going to get that six-pack. And if you are training properly, if you're dieting properly, if you're hydrating properly, if you're sleeping properly, your body is not going to want to pull from muscle for calories and energy. It is only going to want to pull from the fat and get you lean and shredded. You can change how your body pulls energy if you just implement the right things. All right, we're going to increase our non-exercise energy. What does that mean? We're going to increase when we're just our daily steps. When we're walking around, we need to just do more walks, more like cardio. We need to optimize. Optimizing is extremely important. We don't want to over focus on optimizing, but we want to make sure that we are optimizing, okay? And if we need to, we'll do a 2-day depletion plus a refeed to test how carb sensitive you are and to test your metabolism, test how it makes you feel. When you do a refeed, doesn't make you feel like, do you crash a few days after, or do you feel stronger? Because that will let us know how to do your refeeds. And now your body has been built to burn, all right? And you don't earn a six-pack by cutting for 6 weeks. You earn it by preparing your body to handle the cut. Most guys fall off because they skip the prep phase, their metabolism isn't ready, the recovery isn't optimized, their habits aren't locked in, their body isn't built to burn. So they crash, they burn muscle, they fall off, and they lose steam. You follow the plan, you build the foundation, you prime the system. Because no system runs at redline without a proper warm-up. And if you implement the 6-week six-pack method, it will be impossible to not get that six-pack, because you are now building a routine. You have now used the perfect method to lock yourself in for the cut. If you feel like you are never able to lock in, this is why. Because you have skipped the one phase that allows you to lock in. It is impossible to just go from having a terrible habit, a terrible lifestyle, to locked in. It just doesn't work. And I know you've tried a million times. I've tried a million times. And I always fall off. The first few days I might be fine. I might feel great. Then what happens? I get tired. I fall into my vices. I fall off. And it never works. And then I would never understand what's wrong. And then once I finally implemented the 6-week six-pack method, that's where everything changed. That's where I was able to actually stay on top of my cut, actually move, actually know I'm gonna get the physique I want. And it does not matter where you're starting from. You could be 10 pounds overweight, 20, 50, 100, whatever it is 100% possible for you to get six-pack shredded. And if you are ready to get six-pack shredded, DM me and I will send you the full 6-week six-pack blueprint. That way you have it right by your side always. You know exactly what to do. You can lock in, and you can get aesthetic and finally be shredded.